episode of the Africa Aunties podcast. You didn't ask, but we'll answer. As a resident auntie, it's our duty to give you unsolicited advice on how to live your life. Disclaimer, we are not therapists or psychologists or your pastors. You do not need to follow our advice, even though we think we are right. We'll introduce ourselves. My name is Amanda, or Auntie Amanda.
My name is Tatenda, or Auntie T.
My name is Auntie Pearl.
My name is Auntie Karis, Auntie KK. You know how we do it over here. Gang, gang.
All right.
We don't know.
You must know.
We really don't.
Wow. Okay. So, can anybody tell me what is happening today?
International Women's Day.
Woo!
Yes. So, for those of you who celebrate it, for those of you who not everyone celebrates International Women's Day. Some people think women are useless. Some people think women are foolish. But for those who celebrate it, we are celebrating you, Sha. If you're a woman who is listening to this podcast, you know, all of those good things. Today's topic, Sha, is taken from those of them who don't appreciate the women. We'll be reading a tweet and we'll be responding to that tweet. And that will be our focus for this episode. So, a little bit of background. The person who made this tweet, his name is Mike Bamiloye. If you watched, what are those movies called again in Nigeria? Mount Zion movies. He's the pastor and the owner of Mount Zion. And he woke up one morning, to be precise, 9th of February 2021. And this is what he chose to say on Twitter. On Beyonce's internet, he chose to say, if you are a single sister, don't join the feminist movement. That was in all caps, just an FYI. The feminist movement may make you miss the will of God for your life. If you are married, don't join them either. If you want to get the best out of your marriage, the feminism want to contest the head of the home. That was Mike Bamiloye's tweet. But I'm not done. I have to read the responses that were part of this Instagram post. Somebody said, Mike Bamiloye, thanks for the childhood memories, but you are wrong. I think God wants women to be treated right, given equal opportunities, not to be oppressed, but should rather live in equality, peace, and together we will build a better world for everyone. And somebody went to go and comment and they said, there is no equal rights between the man and the woman in the Bible. Women are what? Actually an afterthought.
What?
Just for the pleasure of the man. Even among the Christian congregation, women are not allowed to have or air an opinion in their gatherings. It is all there in the Bible. And so these kind of comments were all through the tweet. But one other one that stood out to me was this one woman that said, well said, sir. I was a feminist as a single lady.
What does she mean?
It was God. It's not that, no. It was God who ministered to me that was a dangerous path. When people embrace the word of God with an open heart, they will see the truth in what you have just said. Yes, feminism is about gender equality, but there is a negative spirit feminism also gives that hates submission to the husband in the home. Submission is not inferiority. It is just understanding. Plus, if a lady yokes herself to God properly, God will settle her marital life. He will give her a great husband. And she ended with Lobatan.
Lobatan.
That's right there is the tweet. So, please, my African aunties, thoughts? What's your first reaction to hearing? First of all, Mike Bamiloye's tweet. What was your first reaction to seeing that thing?
Shut up! Like really, shut up! Like, shut up!
Spot on.
Get it.
Yeah.
End this right there. There's no need to go for them. Just stop it.
Mine?
Why will men not just stay out of women's business?
In
like, really,
their lane.
Stay in your stay in your lane. Like really, who are you? Who? Okay. if you have this view or whatever, you do not have the experience of women. You are not a woman. You have no authority over the general female population of Nigeria. So, like, what have you experienced in your life? What makes you feel like you have the authority to tell women what to join or what not to join? Really, shut up.
I guess he feels like he's a pastor, he's leading.
Like, really, like, all due disrespect, shut up. Shut up. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Like,
yeah, honestly, and it was such a random day. Like, what did you wake up and choose to hate on feminism for? What did they do to you? You just woke up and said women should not be free. They should not be allowed equal pay. No, none of that. All the things that feminism stands for, zero.
Honestly, I feel like this is just very sad because these people are, I don't want to say, they're like, they're spiritual leaders. Mike Bamloye has a church, he has congregation, and he has young men that are looking up to him, and I'm using him as an example or as role models for themselves. And it's just sad that these boys or these men will grow up having this same thoughts. It's disgusting. It's very disgusting. And these are the men that we women that were fighting for our rights. These are the men that we may end up with. So at the end of the day, but these are the men out there. Really, these are the men out there. At the end of the day, we are still the ones that is still going to, Yoruba will say, let me not use Yoruba terms, but like, we're still the one that was going to face the consequences of these thoughts and this whatever rubbish that this man is teaching these men. It's just really sad, honestly. I don't like it. And so many, even, it's not even just the men. Some women are also against feminism.
Like, I said she was a feminist as a single lady.
Before she was
right?
married.
As I said, what does that one even mean by she's a feminist as a single lady? Please. So when she got married, what did she turn to?
God moved her from the wrong path.
Women themselves are supposed to stand up for themselves, are the ones that also say rubbish about themselves. Are you serious?
That gives me major pick-me vibes.
Major pick-me. That is the definition of pick-me vibes, right there.
Seriously. Internalized misogyny. Like,
it's so dumb. Like, people like to make feminism out to be like this big thing. It just means you are a human being and I'm a human being. We deserve to be treated with respect. It doesn't mean that we're going to have the same thing. It doesn't mean we're going to have exactly the same life. It doesn't mean that we're going to do the same jobs or have the same roles or whatever. It just says that whatever role I choose to have in society or whatever role that we have said as the role, like, if I choose to deviate from that, it doesn't make me less of a woman than someone who chooses that role. Or it's just simple as, like, if you are a teacher and I'm a teacher, we should be making the same amount of money. If we're doing the same job, like, that's what, it's not this high level concept that people are trying to, like, treat people with respect. And the people who are trying so hard to, like, be anti-feminist, what is your gain in that? You really want the right to oppress women? If women are telling you that they're being oppressed, would you not want to do something to help alleviate that struggle? And if you don't want to, then shut up. If you're not adding to the success of women, disrespectfully shut up.
One man said women were an afterthought. Like, he's not even part of the conversation of treating women with you. No, he doesn't want to. We don't need it. We don't need respect because we were an afterthought. We were made for men's pleasure. That is very problematic. And for this to be, like, I hate that this is how some Christians really perceive women, because that is very dangerous. Like, which kind of God do you serve? Is it the same God that I'm also praying to? That is saying that some people are second-class citizens.
See, I truly
feel like thinking of us as citizens. We're not citizens, baby.
I truly feel like
we're not even there.
We're not even there.
So much of, like, what I don't know how, like, so much of what runs this world and what keeps people being foolish is power and privilege. And if they don't have an opportunity to have or to enforce their power and privilege, then they're not happy. That's just the bulk of it. And so for many of these people, especially like you said, these people who use religion as an excuse to just spew nonsense and spew hate, I feel like for so many of us in our own lives, we experience, one way where we feel like less than, but because so many people carry faith and religion on their head, like, oh, this is the almighty of life. I know that if anything else is wrong, my faith is not wrong. So they will now use that as their reasoning for why, oh no, even though I may be powerless in other parts of my life, in this religion, me, yeah, the neck. You are below. So I truly feel like, I don't know, the fact, like Pearl said, the fact that someone who is supposed to be a spiritual leader, someone who's supposed to be a role model for people, this is the kind of nonsense to just wake up and choose, let me just say foolishness. And so much of it truly just goes back to not even, what do you really know you're fighting against? What do you know in feminism that you're saying, I'm opposed to it? Because I'm sure if your daughter came to and tell you, oh, they're treating me a certain way, you will still be the one to go and fight for high school. But then no, feminism is against my religion.
I hate that because, like, even when you're saying that, like, if it was his daughter, if something happened to his daughter, he will fight for her. He will only fight for her because he sees like his daughter as an extension of himself.
Exactly. Men
only I wish like we could sit down in a room and ask men, really, what do women do to make you hate women so much? Because the only way to explain this is hatred. This was unprovoked. Nobody called. First of all, we don't even remember who you are.
Truly.
Second of all, the barely half-wit platform that you managed to have, you are using it to destroy women that are paying you no mind. Like, what is this? Like, really, if you only respect the women that are attached to you, you don't respect women, you just respect yourself and your circle.
Yeah.
And men try so hard. Everything they do is just for like other men. And if the problem you have with feminism is the whole thing of like, I deserve to also be a leader. But then you be a better leader. If you think you're better at being a leader, then be the leader. But don't be half-wit at leading and then complain that someone else may be better at your job that you're not doing than you.
Right?
Then shut up and take a class or read a book. Like, do something. But don't come to my face and tell me about how I am not qualified when you are not qualified as well.
I mean, we'll read the Bible. Honestly, is he not a pastor? I just...
Because this whole thing is about how feminine wants to contest the head of the home.
This head of the home.
Really?
What if you don't have a home?
What did you do for
Okay.
This head of the home?
It's just exercise of power. It's just exercise
head of the home. In most people's mind is like, I bring the money. That's fine. You are the head of the home. But do you know anything about your children?
Exactly.
Do you know where?
Keep the same energy.
Show me where the scissor stays in your house. You don't know. You're not the head of
the home.
Have slippers. Do you know where the knives are in your house?
Do you know if your children came to and tell you, here's my best friend, do you know their best friend?
Do you know the name of your child's teacher?
What do you know?
Do you know what classes they're taking? Do you know their favorite color?
Do you know if your child is allergic to nuts?
Do you know their allergies?
Head of the home.
Exactly.
You want to be so in charge. You want to be so in charge, but you do nothing to be in charge. Men want to lead so badly, but don't know that to lead first you have to follow. You want to lead so badly, but don't know that you have to listen to lead. You don't know that, like, you want someone to submit to you so much, but not understanding that submission means to trust you. We can't trust you, you're incompetent. What are you talking about?
What?
Right?
All you do is wake up and brush your teeth, and you want to lead the world? The world? Get out of here.
Setting the home. That's the thing.
What are you talking about? Like, this conversation makes me so upset because, like, what do you do?
Exactly.
Well,
So
see,
the same men
that
that
when
are
it comes to,
supposedly
like,
heads of the
when it comes to being a substantial member of society to raise up a family, if that's the country that you hold, if your family is the nation that you control, this head, what is your impact in your children besides cash?
see it.
If you can't see it, sir, you are subservient.
I have a question.
I'm sorry.
I have a
You are the
question.
deputy here.
Do you think? I feel like also like the way we are being raised. You know, I don't know. Is there like a significant difference in the way ladies are being raised from the way men are being raised?
100%.
Because I feel like
100%.
right,
Immediately.
right.
Yeah.
Because I feel like upbringing also has a lot to do with this talk of feminism and all of those things.
Men are definitely infantilized. Like, they are treated like children up until they are
Until they
given
die.
up to their wife, who's supposed to then treat them like a child and raise them. And like, it's just too much, man. They're
You
never
want to
given
be
the
a
chance
leader
to
so
lead
badly.
because
Like, I don't know, you want to lead so badly, but you can't cook a meal for yourself. If you want to lead so badly, but you need me to do your laundry. You want to lead so badly, but like, what do you do, sir?
But I feel
Leader,
like that's
Commander-in-Chief, what do you do for yourself?
but
Zero
that is,
things.
that is what happens when we what's it called, reward mediocreness and reward just
Exactly.
doing the bare minimum. Because the same
Yeah.
thing men do in these lives where they do nothing, but then we're the ones raised with so much to have all this responsibility. It's the same way why men and women just wake up knowing nothing, but then we're the ones who have to get all the education, get all the knowledge, you know. Like at the end of the day, when so much of like literally like our history, a lot of our history, especially with colonization, religion, a lot of it has just been rewarding people for doing the bare minimum. And because they've been rewarded for doing the bare minimum, people who have actually worked hard, worked behind the scenes, they're never the front and center. They're okay with just being like, well, I don't really have to do much because at the end of the day, it's my position to be here. And you're supposed to be at the back in the other room.
entitlement.
So
Mhm.
that's just the
You
way.
just feel like you just have inherent leadership.
Exactly.
Even if we're going
Yeah.
to assume, yes, let's assume, if you are a man, you are born as a leader.
Mhm.
Then wouldn't it be
Let's
in your
assume.
best interest to work towards those leadership skills?
Right?
Why should the
To be
woman
a
who
good
is
leader.
not born with the leadership instinct, if we're assuming this false lie, but like, false lie is the truth, so this lie. If we're assuming that men are born inherently leaders, why aren't you working up and living to your potential?
Mhm.
You're
Because
failures, or you're an afterthought.
but that's the thing though.
You're a victim.
Amanda, living up to the
It's so
potential.
dumb.
Living up to the
This is
potential doesn't do
conversation.
anything for them. Being mediocre is already rewarded. So living up to potential is just extra labor that they don't want to put in. That's the thing.
Yeah.
If me working hard is going to give me the same result as me doing nothing, why work hard?
Right? Right.
What's the point?
It's for them.
Then keep quiet and let the ones who are working hard to be good leaders live. And let the women who are going to take over from the leadership positions lead, because clearly you're not.
But then they will not think that they are trying to control the men. They will think that they are losing out on their power.
Because they're
and their
spending out their power.
and that's
controlling
why
women.
they don't
That's why
want
it threatens them.
that's why they hate the word feminism and the
Yeah.
whole thing about feminism. They hate it so much because they feel like you're trying to take over the world and you're trying to take over their power and their authority as men.
Mhm.
But if we
But
are,
then again, what are you doing? Like Commander said, what exactly are you doing to prove that okay, I can rule, I can be a better leader, and I can also help you to grow? You're not doing anything. So if we are trying to fend for ourselves and we're trying to fight for ourselves, why are you stopping us?
see it.
Exactly.
Because also, even if we're trying to take over the world, they've had hundreds of thousands of years to do right.
They've
by
had
the
time
world,
to do that.
do right by
They've
people,
had time.
and they haven't. So if we're now saying,
they've had
okay,
time
you
to
have
do
had
that.
your time, let's take it over. Let's show you how
Exactly.
this is happen. Why are you so worried?
Let us
After all,
lead.
they're still the ones every day crying that they're broke. Every day crying that there's no money for tomato, no money for crayfish.
Really, like
Let's help fix
Hey.
it now. But yeah,
this has just like I was just saying to people, like, men really just talk. That's really all they do. They just talk.
Yeah.
Because the effort that it takes to become a good leader, they don't have the maturity to go through. They are required of, like, so little is required of them that they end up at the end of their lives with real life skill. Just a shell of a person. And then you're 60-something years old, and you happen to allow your grandchild to log into Twitter for you, and now you tweet, "Don't join the feminist movement!" Shut up! You have spent your whole life with somebody bringing you food every single day. You have spent your whole life, like, really? What have you done?
It's triggered.
What have you done?
She really is.
Sorry,
She's going
yeah.
for.
No, really though. What have you done? If you want to lead so badly, then lead.
Right?
Honestly.
Nothing is stopping you
Lead
from
and lead
saying.
right. Not just even about leading.
Nothing is
Lead and
stopping you
lead
from
right.
saying.
That right there.
Nothing is stopping you from saying, you know what? I'm a man. I was born to be a leader. I make me the best leader. You're not saying that. You're saying, no, I want to be a bad leader, and I want you to be fine with bad leadership. You must be out of your mind. If the government is not working for the people overthrow the government. If somebody who is supposed to be putting money in your account is no longer putting money in your account, you find someone else put money in your
You find
account.
your way. Right?
So move on. So women are not going to sit down with mediocre men
No.
who are trying to have women who are more educated than men on a global level, who have more experience than men on a global level, who are more emotionally mature than men on a global level. It's not just Black women or Nigerian women. On a global level, we do everything better than you. We raised you. Who are you talking to?
Yeah.
Okay, but also this whole concept of emotional maturity and letting men just have years of being foolish because when you're in your 20s, you don't have sense. You grow up in your 30s, but then girls are 20, 21, they're already telling us to sharp up.
We have sense.
Right?
You have sense.
Exactly.
So really, in your whole life, if you look at your CV of life and look at a random girl's CV of life at your age, do you think, would you hire you as a leader?
Of course not. They have
Man,
nothing.
shut up. Really, just
They have
respectfully. Zip it, please. You're
Zip
talking
it.
like a rat. What are you talking? Like, I don't like loud men. Loud
Honestly.
with empty heads, but just like megaphone lips. What's your mouth?
Megaphone lips.
Really? And he will go on to lead other men and lead other. Because if women say, "I am subservient to men," that's fine for you to decide. But you have to decide what kind of men you're going to be subservient to. Because at the end of the day, men are on a global level bringing you nothing. But the level of nothing is different. So are you going to be subservient to a man that's going to beat you because he is the head of the home? What are you going to sacrifice? Like, is that what you want to risk in order to keep his ego in check? How much pride do you have in yourself to decide what you are worth? It's like, there's so much more. Like, even if people are saying, even if we're going to say men are the head, sure, okay. Head of who though? Because the head of the primary school is not the head of the secondary school. And there's levels to who is the head of what. The head of Port Harcourt is not the head of Nigeria. So maybe you may be a head, but not a head of me. That's all I have to say. So find who is less than you and then talk to them. But don't talk to me.
Okay, wait. Follow-up question.
Oh.
Since we're out here talking about submission. All right. I know this. I feel like we've all been in situations where, like, either someone has said something about being a submissive woman or, your role as a woman, those kind of things. So I want each of you to just think about it for a second. And when you hear submission, what's just like your instinct? Like, what's your reaction to hearing that? And what's your reaction to it? And why do you feel like people have why do people care so much about submission? And why should we care about it? Or why should we not care about it? Everyone, you have a few seconds, think about it. And now, tell me your unfiltered thoughts.
Okay. For me, if I hear submission, I'm like, okay, I want to hear what they're talking about. But I feel like people that talk about submission, men that talk about submission, talk about control, which is not what submission means. To submit in the way they're saying, like, husband and wife to submit, is to yield power. For me to yield power, it means that I had power already. and then I am trusting your skill, your ability, your potential, your lifestyle, whatever I'm trusting you, and I'm able to yield my power to you to lead me and trust that I will be fine. If I don't trust your skill, your life, your accomplishments, your money, your whatever, if I don't trust you, I am not obligated to yield to you. I have to find the person that I trust enough to yield to. Submission is fine if you understand what you're talking about, but submission does not mean you run my life. It means I have power, but I'm choosing to not use that power, or to give you my power and to allow me to do what you want, because I trust that you have my best interest at heart. If you don't have my best interest at heart, me yielding to you, it's a crash situation.
All right. Next in line, Auntie Tatenda.
Wow. I think submission is, I agree with Amanda's point of view, first of all, that like I need to have power first. It's not that I'm coming from a place of lack in terms of power. It's not that like you're just taking me from my father's house where I have nothing, and then you're just going to put me in the house as one of your cattle or whatever. Like, I have power, but I'm trusting you to lead me. And I think for me, submission is more so based on his leadership rather than my submission. Like, it's not like people don't like to emphasize the submission aspect of it, but I think more so the leadership. And in the Bible, when Paul is talking about that in Ephesians, he's literally saying husbands should love their wives like Christ loves the church. So I don't know which men these are that feel like they are one ready to die. Will you be crucified for your wife? Will you die for your wife? Will you provide? Like all those things that we see Jesus as. Are you ready to become that kind of person for your wife? And until you reach that level, why are you talking about somebody else submitting to you? Like, I just don't think that makes sense. Yeah. And I think people care about it so much because men are the ones who always talk about submission, to be honest. And they always talk about it in the context of like control, just like Amanda said. They just want to run our lives. Men don't like seeing us do things, man. Like, for the most part, I just think women are viewed as either pleasure to your husband or cows for your father if you're an African girl. Like, it's literally, we're just viewed as what we can provide for the men in our lives, rather than just like someone who can stand and be an individual who does something prominent for themselves. So yeah, that's my thought on the whole thing.
Wait, was it Peter that said love your wife the way Christ loves you, and then the woman should submit? Was it Peter or Paul?
Paul.
I think it was Paul. It was Paul because it's in Ephesians.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, me, I've always thought it was Peter. How many Bibles do I need? For me,
you said it.
Peter may have said it over. Anyways, generally speaking, on submission, like the dictionary meaning of submission means the act of accepting the authority or control of someone else. And I feel like that's just like for life in general. But then in the context of relationships, submission has a totally different meaning. It's an act expressed mutually and voluntarily. Mutual as per, it's me and you that we have to submit. And voluntarily as per, I will give it to you when I want to give it to you. Simple and short.
Bam.
Mutually.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with being weak or no. It's as per submission, as per I'm strong enough. Like Amanda said, you're strong enough, or I'm strong enough to open my heart to you and to other people, not just you. Submission is not servanthood. Submission is not inferior. Submission is not degrading. Submission is not weak. Submission is a sign of strength and respect. And when I said mutually, place the mutual, I'll be telling me speak rubbish English, place the mutual and the respect together. Mutual respect. Respect as far, if you respect me, I'll respect you. Simple and short. When people, Paul, sorry, I've always thought it was Peter. God forgive me, please. I don't read my Bible daily. But when Paul said, the men should love their wives, I don't think he was saying it as far, men, this is your sole duty. That's the only duty that you have to love you. So is he saying that the women are not to love also? Because it's the duty of the men? No. And when he says women should submit, I'm also thinking he's not saying it as for women, this is your sole responsibility to submit to a man. He's saying it as for, okay, I'm talking to all men and women here. You do this, you do this. Not as for you, this is your focus. You, this is your focus. If he's saying that the man should love the wife, doesn't mean that the wife not also love the husband. The man is loving the wife is loving the husband. The man is submitting, the woman is submitting. And it's mutual. It's two of us that is doing this loving and submission. So please, men out there, don't get it twisted. Do not get it twisted at all. Submission does not mean that woman become, a doormat or I'll be doing yes sir, yes sir. Submission, every time I think of the word submission, I try to make up a situation in my head as far I'm married, I have a project that I'm running or that I'm working on, and then out of respect, out of not leaving you out of my plans, I'm showing you what my project is. I'm not showing you as far you have to impose your own ideas on me and then I'll drop my own thought process. No, I'm showing you as far you're my husband. I don't want to leave you out of my plans. This is what I'm working on, but I will not take your imposition. Simple. If my thought process aligns with your thought process, then yes, we'll work together. But if I've made up my mind and said, okay, this is my plan, and I'm just showing you, not for you to give me ideas, I'm just showing you to put you in the loop of things. That's all. That's what I feel like submission is about. It's just respect. It's mutual respect. It's you giving me respect, me giving you respect, me loving you, you loving me. Simple and short. Thank you.
Beautiful. I think before I talk about what I think about submission, I think every time I've read that whole piece about Paul, I'm talking about the family and love and submission, I truly feel like when you read that whole place and try to understand it, it's not just about, yes, it's about marriage, but it's more about just relationships within families. Because he talks about children and how parents should treat their kids. He talks about how siblings should treat each other. He talks about how children should be to their parents. It's when you read the whole thing in its entirety, it's about just how do we relate to each other in a family? What are things that we can all do to make this relationship work? Because it's not going to be a one-sided thing. All of us have to put in work. So depending on our own limited, whether it's our limited age, maybe because of we're the kids, or our limited growth, or limited abilities, or limited positions in society. Maybe it's in a time when the men are the ones working and women are not working. Depending on your position in society, there are things we all have to bring into this family to make our family unit work. And I feel like people get too stuck up in the, okay, women submit, men do this or do that. But take all of that away and just think about how can we all in this family treat each other better to make sure we're all being respected, we're all being loved, and we're all our input is being taken into consideration.
Really?
Because if not, then what is the point of a family? If you're not going to work at your relationship together, what's the point? Nothing.
A pleasure.
All right. As for my feelings of submission, I truly hate that word, and I feel like we're getting to points in our societies where when we're seeing words don't work for us, we change them. And I feel like when it comes to these relationships, I truly hate hearing submission in terms of relationships. I would rather us stick to a word that's trust. Because even when we want to, explain what submission is in terms of relationship, we still think about it in the sense of you behave a certain way, which makes me feel a certain way about you, and then I'm able to, whether it's yield my power or trust your opinions, trust you have my best interest in heart, all of those things. So for the word submission, personally, I say take it out. if when I'm doing marriage counseling, they tell me submit, please, we're getting up, we're leaving. Already, I know that my marriage counselor will not use such a word with me because they will know me beforehand, so they will have sense. But I truly hate that word submission, and I feel like kind of like the same thing I said about relationships. Like, I feel like submission is also, it's not a one-time transaction. Like, if in one situation I trust you to make a certain decision, maybe already I know I will marry someone who has strength in one thing and maybe I don't have strength in that thing. So we'll know, like, in our family units, when it comes to buying cars, you're the one that has more knowledge and, like, you know how to talk with these salespeople. So I already just know when it comes to buying cars for our family, I will not be the one dealing with it. Baby boy, you take all the power there. You deal with it. But I mean, when it comes to other things, whether it comes to, I don't know, decorating our home, maybe it comes to where do we go for vacation, maybe it even comes to what schools do our children go to, please, you know your power to me. You did to me. You did to me. Don't worry. Your opinion, I don't want it. You did to me. But I truly feel like this whole submission, like trusting, it's very much a dynamic partnership. It's never going to be, it's like consent. Because I gave it to you one time does not mean you have it forever. I gave it to you one time in this one specific situation. The next time, make sure you come correct again so that I can still give you the same submission and trust. But if you don't come correct, you cannot be expecting that now I should give you, what do you think?
Right.
That's the birthright to nothing. If I don't give it, you don't have it. So please, Pim, keep quiet. Yeah. So those are my thoughts on submission. Anyone else already heard before her?
Oh. Okay, so I actually thought about this earlier, but I forgot when I was saying my piece. That Bible verse that everyone likes to go off talking about how women should be submissive was talking about, like who said, the family dynamic. It never said women as a whole should be submissive to men as a whole. It was in the family family situation. So when men now talk about how we should be submissive in the workplace, I know for a fact that there are some things that I have seen boys not be able to do that I can do 1,000 times better. I must still use because I'm a woman. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And why would God even create people like that so that a whole gender is above all the others? Mm-hmm. That men should just do everything and then the rest of us are just here for their pleasure. I just think.
But I feel like it really goes to show us how deep, like, not to get too sociological, but like truly how deep the patriarchy has gotten into our societies. Because even it's so hard, even for, like, thinking about it from like a man's perspective, but thinking about it from like a man's from like a man's perspective, like if every time you talk about leaders or heroes in the society, in our communities, in even like children's stories, it's always men. If those are the only people that you see as the ones who have leadership skills, the only ones who have sense, the only ones who never have to run their ideas by anyone else, you will 100% grow up thinking the same thing. If all the presidents in the world are men, all the world leaders are men, like where else do you see? Even when you even look at the Bible, I know we'll talk about some examples later, but even within the Bible, so many of like the stories, like how many people have the Bible, more than half the Bible written by men. Islam, Muhammad, he's their priest. So I mean, their prophets. So everywhere you turn, it's just men at the forefront of everything. So that's why it's so embedded in our cultures, and I feel like that's also why it's so triggering for these men, because it's almost like like you're shaking their whole core. But it's also like, what is really there in this core? Because even with all these big stories, it was literally, I think 2 years ago that I learned how almost every single speech Martin Luther King Jr. gave, women wrote them, or they were women's speeches. And they just gave it to him at the speech, and he read it, and he became like the forefront of so many things. A lot of these men who are like out there as like people we look up to, they really didn't do anything. They were only in those positions because with that particular like period in time, women had no say. So they would just yield things to men, and they were just the ones taking on all these, power and whatever.
Yeah, like hidden figures as well. Like,
right?
Apparently, well, I mean, not apparently, evidently, women were the ones doing the calculations.
Exactly.
for them to end up going to space and all that, it was women, Black women, at that.
Period.
And do we ever get put at the forefront? No, but
That's
we're the
not.
brains of the operations, and that's fine for them. Like, do all the work and I take the credit at the end of the day. And that's what we're fighting for. We're not fighting for men should not live. We don't think men. I mean, I know there are some women who think that. But like, at its core, feminism is more so about just equal rights and equal opportunity and equal crediting. Like, forget just opportunity, because you will give me opportunity, I will do the work, and you will still credit yourself after you've employed me. That's not what we're fighting for. Like, this is so stressful.
And I feel like it even hurts me. It hurts me even more because, like, when we think about, like, I was learning about so there's this Nigeria Civil War. If you read about it, I read like what happened in Igbo cultures and like communities and whatever. I didn't even realize this, but like I learned very not long ago that a lot of our communities pre-colonization were very much matriarchal, where women were the ones leading things. They were the ones in charge of markets. Like in Igbo land, women were the ones in charge of the markets. Like, we're the ones who were in charge of the home, in charge of the market, in charge of all the decision making. So, like, we have lived lives where men had duties, women had duties, and we all had leadership positions, or in some cases where women had the leadership position. And those communities thrived. So it's not like there are no pictures of women doing what they need to do and making this shit work. It's out there. It has happened. It is still happening. There's still matriarchal families and like matriarchal cultures out there. So I don't know why they feel like this is such a huge shift from the norm. Because truly, if the norm isn't working, it's time for us to destroy
Change
it.
it.
It's really
Also, on that tweet, I saw a comment. I don't even remember if it was on the Instagram, but someone said religion will be the downfall of Nigeria or something to that effect. And I was like, truly, that's so saddening that people take this whole stance on like what Christianity and what Christianity should look like, and they run with it, and they run with this God. I don't know where they got him. I mean, when they colonized us, they came with their white supremacy. Like, there were so many layers where this Christianity that was supposed to be a whole pure thing, where Jesus died for us, like, that was wonderful, great, we love to see it. But now it came with white supremacy, it came with the sexism, the man has to be higher than the woman. It just came with a whole lot of stuff, and Africans have really been buying into that. Like, we've bought into it for a long time, but it's funny because it's so new. Like, it literally the 1800s, and now this is our truth. Really? Like, it's so disappointing. It's really like, at what point do we get our own identity away from colonization? Because everything goes back to colonization and how, yeah, it's very stressful. Yeah.
Amanda, you look like you're itching to say something.
Not really have anything to say. Oh, apart from the fact that the men that talk like this, they are truly powerless. And it's so funny because they know they wouldn't last a day without women. They wouldn't last.
That's
and that's
true.
why they're sad. That's why they're sad.
That's so
Because they
true.
know that if women had a sliver of the opportunity that men had to take power,
They would do better things.
like, there would be no chance. Like, we would be keeping them in cages. It would be sad. Because they don't, like, really, it's so sad because men like this bring nothing. And anybody who is so scared about losing power, maybe you don't really have it.
Yeah, that's
And if you're so focused on, like, why are they not submitting to me? They will never submit to you. You will never, like, it's such a sad life. Anytime I see someone that talks like this or things like this, I initially get upset because is everything alright? But then I also think, oh,
Truly.
yeah, it's saddening. Like,
God,
like your
was
world is
already-
so small
your world is really so small.
that you
It's
don't
so
even
sad.
see anything. No big picture, nothing.
Not the thoughts behind those eyes, just blind, just babes. Oh,
It's just a shell of a man, like someone said earlier. Oh,
it's the funniest
Seriously.
thing because they would not be able to handle it if they had to
They really
really run their own lives. They wouldn't be able to handle it.
No, because the women are cooking. The women are pleasuring
Yes,
them.
like,
All those
your
things.
assistant is a woman, your secretary is a woman, the people handling your schedules are women, the people,
Right.
like, your whole life is
Your whole
revolving around women who are working. And you think if you left it to men, these
We get to.
men?
We get to.
So, like, when you start talking about, oh, they don't submit, I need them to like, I already know, you have already lost the battle.
Exactly.
Really, you're just making noise.
But I feel
But
like
the ideal man. Oh,
no,
go
you
ahead.
go.
Okay, I was just gonna say, because I feel like the ideal man that Paul is speaking about does not demand submission. I just think
At all.
submission is something that you will do.
Don't even
naturally.
think about it.
It's not
It
even
just
the
comes.
mind.
Right?
Because if you're a leader, you're not thinking about, when you're a leader, people will follow. It's not really about what you have to, like, really. That's why, like,
It's not by force.
if you're this bothered, you're not a leader. And you've never been, and you probably never will be, because you're so focused on who is seeing you instead of doing the
Exactly.
work. And if you're focused on who is seeing you instead of doing the work, people will never see you. Period.
Except on Twitter, and they laugh.
Oh, by women. And you can't type. That's the worst part. We know you can't type. You type with one finger. Get out of here. No, stop. Next point. Really, let's move on from there.
Wow.
Hey, before we end this segment,
Oh my God.
me say that, like, I truly feel for these men because they don't even know what is in store for them. Because when you see the young girls and some of these young boys who are being raised now, I'm truly, truly, truly so happy for, like, our generation, the generation that's coming after us. I guess since I'm a Gen Z, I'm also the generation after us. But, like,
Oh my
I think
Yes, we are all Gen Z. Yeah.
no, you and Charmaine are not. Me and Pearl are.
No, we're on the cusp. We're Gen Z.
It's Cospi or Cospi me. But anywho, I feel like so many young people were getting to this point where, or like we're at this point where we hear elders saying things sometimes. I'm looking at them like, I know you're saying words, but your words are foolish. So I will not.
Right. It's not sinking in at all.
It's really not sinking in. And
It's not
seeing
sinking
it's
in.
like this woman's daughter on TikTok, Ilhan Omar, the one who's like a whole senator in the US, the Muslim woman, amazing. But she even has like some things that she says, and I'm just like, what are you talking about? And her daughter, who is only like 17, very boldly is also on TikTok, very boldly like opposing her mother's views. Like, some of the things you say are nonsense, and I will not be following them. And these are the kids who are coming up. So very soon, it will be a small child that will shake up this man Bamiloye. It will be his granddaughter
Honestly.
that will finish him to his core, and he will shake up and he will shut up. And then at least a few more years, he'll be gone from this earth in it. That's how it used to happen. Last people will die.
Harry,
Honestly.
can you say 3 more years?
If
You
they
know.
don't die- if they don't die today, they will die a few years from now. But last, he will be shaking up.
Few years. Oh, good. Can you say God forgive me?
Goodbye to that, by the way.